Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Yesterday, we talked about the free stuff. Now, the people who are forcing the people to pay for the free stuff have told the people who are receiving the free stuff that the people who are paying for the free stuff are being mean, prejudiced, and racist. Good. Get off your dead butt and go to work. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Thank you very much, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today and call Kelly, 734-6969. Holy smokes! Did you hear about the girlfriend that got a hold of the boyfriend's Jeep and burned it down? All I have to say this morning is, James, watch the matches!
I would never do that.
I know.
Although I thought about it a time or two, but I'd never do that.
I tell you what, the poor guy is living in fear. He's got one eye in the back of his head.
I'm kind of wondering what the heck he did to tick her off so bad.
Ooh, that's a nasty deal.
That is a nasty deal, and that has to be one very, very angry girlfriend to pull that kind of a stunt.
One that one would contemplate possibly not dating in the first place.
Bingo.
Yeah. How are you?
Tired. It's Wednesday.
You know, it is, and God bless you. You and Deanna have done such a good job of getting things organized for our political run. Boy, we've got a lot of them today.
And we've got, a week and a half left to go?
Oh, yeah. By the end of the next week and a half, honestly, if we can still speak cordially to each other and not pull out a 357 and start shooting our microphones, we'll be all right.
That is so true, honestly.
Do we... I know it is. Anyway, do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the pledge.
Okay, good. Rotten, good morning. Go ahead with the pledge.
Good morning, all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is always good to hear from you, and God bless you and your lovely wife. Look forward to seeing you next week, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Hey, it's time for the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you this hour by our dear friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Give them a call on the landline, 678-6945. They've got all the Halloween and Christmas decorations, and they've got all the repurposed furniture, and by the way, they will meet or beat any price on flooring. You better get a hold of them today. Stop in. Wonderful store. Look for the blue door at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Going to be sunny today, cloudy tomorrow. Nice weather across the board. No rain in the forecast for the next 72 hours. And your high today right around 68. Cooler temperatures across the board. Other than that, pretty much it. A nice day for the middle of the week to get you set up for the the weekend. Enjoy the weather. Zilla. What do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Cheney Flooring and Home Design closed on Sundays and Mondays, but open Tuesday through Saturday. Please stop in and see them. All the decorations, repurposed furniture, and of course, they put on the do-it-yourself workshops at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Okay. We got a lot of things to cover today, and we've got a birthday boy. Steve Lakey is having a birthday today, so when you see him, go up and congratulate him on becoming an old man. Steve Lakey, congratulations. Happy, happy birthday. By the way, we also want to acknowledge the fact that Senator Dean Cameron wants to express his appreciation to the citizens of Minidoka and Cassia County. He is very grateful for all your support and honored for the opportunity to serve you. Senator Dean Cameron cares deeply about Idaho and our community, and he works extremely hard to represent and defend you. He is the Senate Chairman of the Budget Committee and senior member on the Resources Committee. And believe me, he's fought to protect Idaho's water and improve our children's education. He asks for your continued support and encourages you to vote on November 4th. And also vote yes for the constitutional amendment. Thank you. Paid for by Dean Cameron for Senate Committee. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is a small Texas community that is showing their, how do you say this? I'm not going to change the words. I'm just going to say what I feel, okay? They're showing their guts. They're showing that they've got the courage to stand up to the evil ones. Anyway, the small Texas community, they have a plaque, and it's been at the school for, 25, 30 years, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit this morning. They've got a plaque that basically says, "We love the Lord Jesus Christ and are thankful for his blessings." Now, it's been at the school for generation after generation. All of a sudden, this little community gets approached by a Wisconsin atheist group over 1,000 miles away. And this Wisconsin atheist group says, "Take down that plaque, or we will sue you." Now, unfortunately, most communities today, when you mention the word "we will sue you," they run and cower in the corner, stick their tail between their legs and go, "Oh, please, I'm sorry, I'll take it down, don't hurt me." Not these people. You know, I've got a lot of good friends down in Texas. And if I've learned anything from being around those people, you don't want to go up and be belligerent with them and tell them what to do. There's an old joke that says you can always tell a Texan, but you can't tell them much. And basically the community was on television. Some of the members of the community were on TV this morning early. My wife and I had a chance to catch this. And they looked at the camera and they said, "Come on down. We'll be more than happy to invite you to try to come and get it." I love that attitude. Just try to come and get it. These atheist groups, I am so fed up with them. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
The atheist group, they believe that there is no God, correct?
Yeah.
Well, why would they get upset if we believe in something they think is not even there?
Yeah, but Doug, that's you can use the same analogy with the Agenda 21 people, the hypocritical enviros, what's going on with energy. I mean, it's the same mindless thought. Look at gay marriage and the gay and lesbian and transgenders. They expect us to change our philosophy and our morals to go along with them. And I'll just say it in very simple English. Ain't gonna happen.
No, I got my beliefs. I'm standing by my beliefs, and if they don't like my beliefs, then they get on down the road.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but you know, for this group,
I'm not going to be politically correct because they're a pansy and cannot handle facts of life.
Yeah, and like I said the other day with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and I've had those folks on now for 3-4 years on my program, and they, by the way, the Alliance Defending Freedom is up in Coeur d'Alene right now, helping defend that husband and wife ordained pastor team against the onslaught of gay marriage. And they have said, too, it's time that America got a backbone. It's time that Christianity, and I mean this, Doug, it's time that Christianity stopped turning the other cheek and went on the offense.
I agree 100% there. And being a business owner myself, I have the right to refuse service to anybody I want to refuse service to. And I have told a couple people, leave my shop and don't ever come back.
Yeah, now, Doug, wait a minute. This is what I've said for a long time. No shirt, no shoes, no service. That is being, in essence, quote-unquote, discriminatory because you don't want barefoot people with athlete's foot in your business. You don't want some flabby fat guy sitting down at a booth eating at your restaurant with sweat running out of his armpits without a shirt on. I mean, that's as discriminatory as saying, no, I've got my beliefs, I believe in the Bible, I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I do not want to perform that homosexual wedding.
Exactly. That's they want it all one-sided, and that's where the Christians need to stand up and say no.
Amen.
This door swings both ways.
Yeah, but Doug, it's not just Christianity. It's on all of this onslaught against our Constitution. It's this onslaught against our educational principles and everything. It's time to stand up and say, bring it on, dude. We're ready for a good old-fashioned whooping right here. Come on.
You bet, and I love that deal where if you want to take it down, come on down and try.
Yeah, come on down and see us, y'all, whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, don't do it over media. Get here in person and try to take that.
Yeah, just come on over and have some sweet tea over to Aunt Vinny's, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Doug, thanks so much.
You have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye. Hey, Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Oh, yeah. These mornings, it's a little cooler in the morning, and it's going to get a lot cooler. And you tippy-toe across the linoleum floor to turn up the heat, and your furnace is going chug, chug, chug. Well, you didn't get it serviced, did you? Well, you better hurry up and get that done. Call Ramsey's today, 678-0459. And don't forget they got all the air filters, too, for your furnace to run efficiently. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to tell you that when it comes to tree trimming and know what to do with the trees, the fruit trees, the ornamental and shade trees, etc., and all the stumps and everything, call Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And I keep telling you this. I had a guy call me after the program yesterday and say, what was that number again for that landscaping and sprinkler service? And I said, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. He said, yeah, I better get on the list and have my sprinkler system blown out. Yes, you'd better. 438-2485. Give them a call today. All right, now give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In our shotgun roundup of the news this morning, what good, honestly, somebody tell me this, what good is the appointment of that Ebola czar, Ron Klain? What good is appointing him to be the Ebola czar if he doesn't know anything about the disease, he doesn't know anything about medicine, he doesn't know anything about security of hospitals, etc., 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 but the Obama Zen master of Ebola hasn't been to any of the informational briefings. Yeah, he has been too busy. Now that leads one to wonder, with inquisitive minds like mine, why appoint this overstuffed body to be the Ebola czar when he is not going to the briefings? He really is not helping or providing any information to the general public. And what's really interesting is there have been many Washington insiders say, and I've got notes from some of them, tell me that this man is already being kind of touted to become a head man of another position. Oh, I see. The Ebola crisis in the world, they needed a czar, so they, through the Obama administration, appointed somebody that hasn't got any knowledge at all about Ebola or medicine, but he's using the position for a very short time to be led into possibly another position. Now that is a warm, comforting feeling, is it not? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Valley-wide Home and Ranch. Oh, get ready for winter. I'll be with you in a minute, caller. Have patience. Something I need to develop also. They've got heaters, heat tape, propane heaters, propane. They got all your winter needs. Yes, sir, you walk in the door and warm up. They've got all your winter clothing, too. And let me tell you, too, stop in for a cup of coffee and just take a meander. I love that word, meander. Kind of mosey and meander around the store at Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Really good folks at Valley-wide Home and Ranch. Hey, by the way, too, caller, I'm coming. Hang on. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Pumpkin pancakes. Oh, are they great looking, along with the bacon and the hash browns and the eggs. Pumpkin pancakes for the season. It sounds great to me. And by the way, our next lunch punch is going to be next Thursday, the 30th. It's going to be the day before Halloween. And listen, lunch bunchers, lunch bunch at Denny's will mean that we're going to have some extra door prizes given to the best Halloween mask and the best costume. Yeah, Al, you're already in. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. Celebrate Halloween with us at Denny's Restaurant next Thursday at 11:30, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Going to be fantastic. Denny's Restaurant at 611 Overland in Burley. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
I was just going to ask you, can I keep the one I got?
You know, this is really funny because I do not know who is on the line waiting. And I thought to myself while I was talking about Denny's, I'll bet it is Al. And it was. Go ahead, buddy.
But you ask about the people being appointed like they are, don't know nothing. Well, does anybody in that administration know anything?
Well,
Mr. Obama said on the TV the other day, he said he's been down there shaking hands and hugging all them people and nurses.
Yeah.
He's a damn liar. He's
Yeah.
been nowhere near him.
Al, later on this morning at 10:06, and I'm telling you this because I really appreciate your friendship and your listenership, there's a gentleman going to be on my program. At least we hope and pray that he makes the phone connection with us this morning, and you've seen him 1,000 times on television. Dick Morris is going to be on our program, and he's got a new book called Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation, and I'm going to be talking to him exactly about what you and I are talking about. This man, in the last 2 years, will, in my opinion, and also in Dick Morris's opinion, become a very dangerous entity against our Constitution.
Yeah, I know it. And then did you get my message last night about up there in Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Carrie had told me she was going up there. She mentioned that to Deanna and I, so she's a very, very nice lady.
Yeah, it was real nice of them to be on KMVT last night. So
yeah, but I'll tell you what.
No, that's pretty country.
Yes, it is, and they're pretty sharp people too with the Alliance Defending Freedom.
You betcha.
Al, thank you as always. I appreciate it.
Mask and stay away from the door.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Oh, Snyder's Surplus. It isn't just army and hunting supplies anymore. No, they've got something for everybody. I mean, you need a new office chair. Yes, I do. And I mean it. Mine looks like it went through World War 17. It is absolutely falling apart. Of course, I got a bad habit of leaning back, and I'm, oh, brother. Anyway, they've got all the couches, chairs, filing cabinets, tea tables. Would you care for a spot of tea? At Snyder's Surplus at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. They've got everything over there. Not a new location, same location. Zeb, don't confuse the public. 112 South, 200 West, but a brand new store. Brand new merchandise and great friendly service at Snyder's Surplus. Yeah, there you go. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear about the lone wolf Muslim terrorist that waited outside of a building? And I'm getting more reports on this all the time. And there were 2 Canadian soldiers in this building. I believe it was a little coffee shop. And he waited outside in his vehicle, and the 2 soldiers come outside of the cafe, and he puts it in drive, the terrorist, and floorboards it and hits them at speeds of like 65 to 70 miles an hour. That was his way of praising Allah. I read this story and I heard about it from some of the people up in Canada. It's absolutely despicable. He shot across that parking lot and killed one, and the other is severely injured. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are investigating, and they took off after this guy in a high-speed chase. And finally, this Muslim terrorist flipped the car over, and they got in a gunfight, and they killed him. Good. And he kept yelling during the gunfight in the name of Allah. And they found out after they checked this guy out that he has association with about 90 others of his ilk. Lone wolf Muslim terrorists. Be careful out there. We are now going to have the Capitol Press Ag Minute. I'll be right back. After then, we'll listen to Lieutenant Governor Brad Little and HJR2. And now, the Capitol Press Ag Minute.
The Capitol Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com.
The Idaho Bean Commission will use an $18,000 specialty crop grant to try to help the state's dry bean industry make inroads into Costa Rica. The Central American nation of 4.6 million people is one of the Idaho industry's most promising markets. Idaho has a strict testing program that certifies bean seed growth in the state is disease-free and is the leading bean seed supplier in the nation. Costa Rican farmers grow a lot of dry beans, but the crop faces significant disease pressure there, an issue Idaho can help solve, Commission members say. The grant will allow the Commission to take preferred local varieties in Costa Rica that face substantial disease pressure and grow them in a disease-free environment in Idaho. This is Hannah Brose.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
On Election Day, Idaho voters should choose a state treasurer with a 16-year record of success in helping improve the lives of Idahoans. Treasurer Ron Crane has nurtured and grown the tax-deductible Ideal College Savings Program, which thousands of Idaho families now use to continue their children's education. And nearly 25,000 Idaho women have gained saving and investing skills through Ron Crane's popular Smart Women, Smart Money training program. Vote Ron Crane for treasurer, experienced investing, protecting Idaho's taxpayers.
Pate Crane for Idaho State Treasurer. Mitt Romney on Jim Risch.
Jim Risch is a person who you can count on to help build jobs, to say no to the growth of government, to say no to the growth of taxes, to say yes to family values, and to stand up for the people of our nation and the state of Idaho. This is a man of integrity, honesty, and character.
Jim Risch is the person we can trust to fight for us in Washington. Jim Risch for the U.S. Senate.
I'm Jim Risch, and I approve this message.
Paid Risch for U.S. Senate.
Okay, I'm taking my whiteout here. Hold on just a second. I got a little bottle of whiteout.
Did I mess things up?
That's all right. Hey, listen, I'm not going to criticize you. I thought we were going to have Lieutenant Governor Brad Little and HJR2, but you know what? I got whiteout.
Hey, I can do those right now, too.
No, hey, hang on, babe. Don't get nervous. Hold your horse. We'll take some more calls. I love it. You know, I can just see you after work. Where's that adult beverage?
Give me that twisted tea, babe.
I don't care. We'll get to that other one in just a little bit. Okay, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another in our shotgun stories of running up the news this morning. Did you hear that the 5 real bad guys, yeah, and they were, the vermin of the vermin, with Al-Qaeda, etc., that Obama traded for Bo Bergdahl, oh, well, they'll be good. They'll be good. They'll go back home. They'll go to Yemen, and they'll stay in a house, and they won't do anything. No, they're going to study their Boy Scout manual, and they're going to do a bunch of community service. Yeah, they'll be good. They have already been visited numerous times by terror leaders of Al-Qaeda. Nice going, Obama. Really a good, sound, intellectual trade. You did another great deed for the safety of America. Absolutely despicable. Barry Equipment and Rental, and tomorrow, as a matter of fact, we're going to have Eli on the air for a little bit, and they've got 3 locations serving you, and that's Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and of course their new location at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Holy cow, old Eli says they've got everything for rental. All the equipment you need for your fall project, clean up, fix up, get ready for the snow, get ready for the wind. They've got it all over there at Barry Equipment and Rental, whether you need the Bobcats or the Coyote tractors or the Doosan loaders, whatever, they've got it all over there for you at Barry Equipment and Rental in Twin, in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. It's Barry Equipment and Rental. You get a hold of those good people today. All right, speaking of getting a hold of good people, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you, Representative Clark Kaufman, your District 25 representative, a filer, area farmer, and businessman, is asking for your vote on November 4th. Representative Kaufman encourages you to exercise your privilege to vote. He thanks you for the privilege of serving you as representative the past 2 years and asks for your vote in the November general election. Kaufman also encourages you to support and vote yes on House Joint Resolution number 2, HJR 2, which is a constitutional amendment to ensure the separation of powers of the executive and legislative branches, paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman for Idaho State Representative for District 25 Seat B, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Really, Clark is doing one good job. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Let's see, what else have we got? Let's see, Democratic platform across the United States. Very pathetic and very scary. Did you see the posters that were developed in Georgia by the Democratic state campaign of Democrats in Georgia? And they started a poster campaign called Hands Up, Don't Shoot. Now, I saw those posters on the news yesterday and then again this morning, and I'll just kind of paint a picture of what they look like in your mind's eye. Here are 2 little black children with their eyes wide, and they're holding these cardboard signs, hands up, don't shoot. And on the posters, there are red hands, signifying bloody hands. And they're saying at the bottom, vote Democrat to keep from being shot. You know, just about the time you think that politics can't get any lower and they can't slither along on their belly like a snake, they surprise you and they go even lower. These 2 little black girls holding up this bloody hands poster, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's all in reference to exploiting what happened in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, you know me about being outspoken about the Democratic platform. I think it's absolutely heinous and disgusting. And if that is part of their belief, and we talk about electing some of those Democrats for our state of Idaho, think again. There are a lot of Republicans that are running for various office. that have some holes in their screen door. Admittedly, I'll say that. But when it comes to doggone right and family values and everything else, I'm going to stick with the Republican ticket, because I'll tell you what, I don't want the likes of what's happening across the board with the Obama administration and also this sleaze. Hands up! Don't shoot. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know what, Gina? Right now I think would be an ideal time to go with Lieutenant Governor Brad Little and HJR2.
Hi, I'm Brad Little, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. Idahoans are some of the most innovative and hardest working people in the world. Let's help all Idahoans be job choosers, not job takers, for a better future.
Idaho is one of the best states to do business. With a strong system of education, we can attract more jobs in both traditional industries and new fields like health, energy, manufacturing, and technology.
I'm Brad Little. Let's work together to build strong families, strong career choices, and a strong Idaho.
Hey, Little for Idaho, Tom Johnston, Treasurer.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Thank you very much. And right now, oh, by the way, did you hear that the other evening, the great illustrious President Obama made kind of a faux pas, and now they're trying to cover it up. They're like a bunch of cats in the sandbox this morning. And he gave a mildly embarrassing confession. Those are the words. Mildly embarrassing confession. That he, Obama, left unpaid bills in his Chicago home when he took up residence in the White House. Now, Neil Monroe, who's been on this program, he is a White House correspondent, and I'm going to get him back on the show hopefully next week if his schedule permits. Neil Monroe wrote this piece, and he said the White House censored the Monday night transcript of Obama's speech at a Chicago fundraiser to hide his confession of unpaid bills. But the White House pushed back again yesterday morning by issuing an edited transcript that claimed the embarrassing statement was inaudible. They're covering their tracks. Oh my. According to the pool reporters that were there and heard what Obama actually said, he said this, and I'm quoting from the piece of paper that was sent to me this morning by Neil Monroe. One of the nice things about being home is actually that it's a little bit like a time capsule. This is Obama speaking now. Because Michelle and I and the kids, we left so quickly that there's still junk on my desk, including some unpaid bills. I think eventually they got paid, but they're sort of stacked up. In the White House, they were all nervous about this with the unpaid bills, and so they went in and they deleted the passage. They did. They took it out of there. And then they had a new transcript. They went to a lot of work to cover it up, and it's got to make you think. What else do they cover up daily? Here's the new transcript that they sent out to all the news media. Oh, yeah. One of the nice things about being home is actually that it's a little bit like a time capsule because Michelle and I and the kids, we left so quickly that there's still junk on my desk, including some newspapers and all kinds of stuff. I'd laugh. It's really serious. But I laugh because we, the American public, we're being lied to, we're being led by the nose to believe all this garbage that they tell us, and then they rewrite and they debunk everything that was said, and we're supposed to buy into it. Absolutely ridiculous. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox. Oh, when I think of Sophie's, I think of those great, big, delicious cinnamon rolls. Oh, man, are they good. Or the wedding cakes and the cookie bars and the homemade bread. They've got a bakery over there that is just fantabulous. Yep. And they serve breakfast, lunch, or supper, open Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 2. Right on the square. Right on the square, 530 East Street in Rupert, Sophie's Chatterbox. You get over there today. Wow. I've been on this diet. And, Gina, I've lost, if you're there by the microphone, I have lost probably 9 pounds in the last 30 days.
Well, that's not too bad. That's a healthy weight loss.
9 pounds. And I reached a point yesterday we had to run to a meeting real quick immediately after the program.
Uh-huh.
And so Deanna and I didn't have a chance to prepare my cardboard lunch. And while we were at this meeting, I thought to myself, all I could think of was food. And I kept seeing visions of like bacon cheeseburgers and pie a la mode, peach pie a la mode, and real big, fat, juicy French fries with a sauce, and T-bone steaks with mushrooms on top.
Oh, yummy.
And I almost broke down. When the meeting concluded, I almost broke down and said to Deanne, you know, maybe I should treat you to a nice lunch. You haven't eaten well lately, because she's been kind of serving me all this garbage, or I should say cardboard food, and she hasn't been eating well, and I almost broke down. It was a real test of my inner strength yesterday.
I would have broken down. I would have done it.
Now you tell me.
Yeah, I would have, totally.
Why didn't you?
Babe, why don't we go for that? Why don't we go for a nice lunch? And then you just take her wherever sounds good to you, and you order yourself that ribeye.
Yeah. No, don't go there. You know, can you imagine for breakfast ribeye with eggs on top? Oh my
heck yeah.
goodness! I'll take that call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'd like to talk a minute about branches of government.
Yes, go ahead, please, and speak up just a little bit, please.
I know I'm having trouble with the volume on my phone. I'm sorry. I can't fix it. I'll try to talk louder.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
It seems to me that with the constitutional branches of government, that definitely we have lost strength in the one that is representative of the citizens of the United States. It seems to me that the president has almost a continuous running veto, as he has expressed several times that irregardless of Congress's action or inaction, he plans to go ahead with certain acts that he claims to be constitutional by executive order. I think that, you know, the courts are always dicey. I mean, you can predict on some of them. The Supreme Court kind of waffles and wavers. You never really know which one is going to dissent and rule, you know, the majority rule of the court.
Right.
I think there is I think it's a really bad precedent by the president to express publicly, although there isn't much going on secretly. It's right in front of our noses. There's no sleight of hand or deception. There's just an open acclamation of what he intends to do. I think that, you know, without strong representation of our legislators, you know, state and federal, I'm speaking specifically of federal, is that I fear what may come in future administrations with these strong proclamations being put forth by the president, and I don't know how we as a nation can hope to change this without strong representation. And it seems to me he expresses openly disdain for, he says, the Congress. You know, the Congress is made up of several political parties, three I can think of: Independent, Democrat, and Republican. So I don't know. It doesn't bode well for we the people. I wish that we had people. We need people to stand up and speak strongly in the Congress, and to do what they're bound to do by their oath, is to represent the people, be it Democrats or Republicans. I think it's a dangerous situation.
Well, I hate to rush you along here, but of course, we're in political season, so I've got to keep everything rolling. I just want to have you respond to a couple of things here real quick. Give me short answers. Okay. Later on this morning at 10:06, we're going to have Dick Morris. You've seen Dick Morris on television many, many times, whether it's Hannity, whether it's O'Reilly, whatever. And he's got a new book out called Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. And he says in the book, basically, and I'm again giving a summation, almost what I've been preaching on this program for the last 5 to 6 years, but I didn't write the book, that this man, Obama, with his pen and his phone and his power grab and the way he's treated energy, the way he's treated our economy, the way he's treated national security, the way he has treated any and all subjects to basically step over and above Congress, we are already seeing that power grab because our legislators do not have the backbone to form cohesive units and look him in the eye and say, Mr. President, sit down, back off, and we will present things to you.
Yes, I think, just one more point, I think that maybe with the suit against the president, like I say, you never can predict the courts exactly, but it would be almost impossible for the court, I'm talking about our Supreme Court of the United States, to uphold something that is unconstitutional. I think that probably if our representatives pursue that, if they stick with that suit and stick to it, that eventually that will be decided to be unconstitutional. But in the meantime, with the acceleration of people from other countries streaming into our country, they will already be here, and probably realistically impossible to send them back to their countries.
I agree.
But I think eventually, but in the meantime, there's bad things going on that will negatively affect our government, our society, our basic principles.
Right.
That's what worries me.
Sir, you're always welcome on this program. I hate to sound like I'm brushing you off, but I've got a limited time. Thank you very much. Call me again. I appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. I've got to do a real quick weather forecast with our dear friend Michael Rogers, weather.com. Brought to you by Nicole Pratt and the crew at Mad River Laser. Oh, they're located at 502 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. And believe me, what a great business to promote your business with all the Carhartt jackets and the T-shirts and the sweats and the caps and everything. Just go in and let yourself just indulge a few minutes of all the great artistry that she can perform in the promotion of your business. Talk about Carhartt jackets? She's got them at Mad River Laser. Here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Rogers from the Ranch. Sunny today, cloudy tonight. That's in our forecast for the day. Cooler temperatures, October weather, and that's about it. There is not a lot going on right now for the Magic Valley, which is pretty good. By the same token, next week I'll tell you exactly why. You probably know, but I'm going to get a better synopsis on what you're going to be going through as far as fall going into winter. Other than that, like I said, sunny today, cloudy tonight, cloudy tomorrow. Here you go. Enjoy it. Temperatures, daytime high about 68 for today. Still the weather. Still the weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, the caller just before, I think, if we had leadership that would actually stand up and do something, what conservative independence, the people would rally. But you see, when you have the Republican Party attacking each other, whether or not they call it the Tea Party or whatever, and the traditional Republican Party, when you divide, you conquer. And if you can't figure this out, then we're in the world of hurt. Yeah, the world, the country's screaming for leadership.
Yep.
And Obama's intentions, when he said remember how he was caught supposedly off mic, as soon as I get reelected, I'll be more flexible.
There you go.
To Medvedev.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm reading this book that Trevor Loudon I bought there that night, and it says that the Russians never did go away. They just were put down for a while, but in the meantime, they were recouping themselves. And they were involved with 9/11, according to this book. And then the Palestinian, Yasser Arafat, was always involved with the Russians. In fact, he was trained somewhat by them. And so if they destroy, if Russia destroys Israel and America, then all they got to worry about is China.
That's exactly right.
They love China. You're wrong. They're just fighting they're dividing up the world as we speak, and we're standing here with sucking our thumb.
Well, Randy, and I'm running late, but I just want to say this.
I know.
There's one word, there's one piece of paper that is protecting the entire world from chaos right now. And I think you know what that one word and what that one piece of paper is. It's our Constitution. And if that goes asunder, so does everything else.
Well, when I talk to people, I say a government of the people, by the people, for the people won't work if the people don't care. Do you care?
That's right.
And they look at me, and they think, I see, well, then you need to get involved.
There you go. And that means go vote.
If we don't rise up.
There you go, Randy. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, buddy. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we got trouble in River City, and the main pinnacle of the problem is Obama. You don't like that? It's the truth. Don't forget Great Big Tire Sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, the Eclipse tire on sale. All-season traction, 70,000-mile warranty. Yes, sir. The Ultra Z900 is also on sale. And along with the Terramax, HT, the Wildcat AT2, the Open Country AT2. Woo! Man, I'm telling you, they got all the tires on sale. And you know what else? Dress up that four-wheeled wonder with some good-looking chrome wheels. Or, better yet, you went to the stop sign the other day, hit the brakes and went, whoa, there's a problem here. Well, you better take your car in and have the brakes tested, and they've got the best brake value promise in the industry. Professionally trained technicians that can help you. And then don't forget all the shocks and struts and the front end alignments and the batteries. Good heavens. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. Got time for another call. Give me a jingle while I'm doing this. Don't forget Four Paws Bed and Bath at 370 West, 200 South of Paul is going to have a great big Halloween party at Four Paws for people and their pets. It's going to be the day after Halloween on November 1st. Yep, from 11 to 3. Mark it on your calendars, and you can have all the pictures taken, and you can buy toys and treats and food for your pets at great sale prices. Gonna be a good time at Four Paws Bed and Bath, 370 West, 200 South of Paul, and that's going to be on November 1st. Don't miss it. Call them 438-4444. Okay? All right, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, last night in the World Series, first game, wow. Remember I said yesterday, when it came out for predictions on the World Series, I said my heart is leaning towards picking the Kansas City Royals, but my head and common sense said, go with the Giants. Well, my head and common sense won out last night. The Giants destroyed the Royals in Game 1, 7-1. And some of their sluggers with the Giants just, honestly, the pitchers for the Royals look shell-shocked. And I don't know. If the Royals lose this game tonight, and then they head back to San Francisco, Katie bar the door, it could be very easily a 4-game sweep. I'm not predicting it. It could happen. Now, coming up next hour, we've got my dear friend Doug Johnson from Colorado coming on. I always look forward to having kind of a potpourri of things to talk about with Doug. And then at 9:30 this morning, we lucked out, and we have a gentleman with the Heartland Institute. His name is Russell Cook, and he lives down in Arizona in the Phoenix area. And he's going to be talking about exposing the merchants of smear with the global warming and climate change. This guy is really a nice person and very well versed on what's going on with the Al Gores and everything else. So don't miss that coming up at 9:30. Then at 10:06 this morning, we're going to hopefully be able to get Dick Morris on the program with us, author of the new book Power Grab. And then at 10:30, we have rebooked and rescheduled a man that was supposed to be on yesterday. His name is John Henry Weston, and he's going to be talking about what's going on with religious liberty here in the United States. So all of that and more coming up. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh, good morning. Hour number 2, Zeb at the ranch. And that one person burned the Jeep, and Gina's going to burn the computer. Hey, Zeb at the Ranch with Zeb Bell. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and service is the key word, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always Georgia's struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, I want to talk about the route service. We've been on their garbage route service for a long, long time, and quality people driving those great big trucks, and I'll tell you what, they're right on time, all the time. Call to get on the route service today to get rid of your garbage. All you have to do, it's simple, is just call 734-6969. That number again, 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. Really, really nice people. By the way, that little segue, really nice people, leads me right over to talk about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward. I mean, that man is always smiling. He's always doing something nice for someone. And Hanson Mortuary, a family place, and very flexible hours to serve your family. That's right. Give them a call today. When there's the passing of a loved one, please, they always help you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. The number to call, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you. I want to go right now to the phone line, and I'm going to get a dear, dear, dear friend on the air, and we look forward every Wednesday to having him and his knowledge, and that's, of course, our dear friend Doug Johnson. Good morning in Colorado. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are things in Idaho?
Beautiful day. Absolutely blue sky, crisp temperatures, and it looks like it's going to be another beautiful fall day here in the Magic Valley. Doug, I wanted to ask you, you write about so many things in your blog, as I do in mine, but what are your thoughts about voter IDs? I have done a lot of study about this, and I cannot see at all any possible inconvenience, if you will, to making it mandatory that you don't vote unless you have an ID. You can't go anywhere or do anything without an ID. Why should we not do the same about voting?
Well, I agree with you. The only person who can go places and do things without an ID is our president, who has no official identification because we don't really know who he is. But all the rest of us have to have an ID to do the most basic of things, and I think it's reasonable, and I can't see any argument against it.
When you talk about IDs, younger people need an ID for alcohol, cigarettes, starting a bank account. I'm just trying to think of some of the other. You need it for, like, if you're going to be on food stamps or Social Security or buying a house. I mean, this Democratic waste of time saying that they think it's absolutely abhorrent that we are forcing IDs upon voting. The heck with the Democrats. Make it a national law. You don't vote unless you show an ID.
Well, I agree. Obviously, that's not going to happen. What it's going to have to do is get to the Supreme Court for a ruling, because they're too determined to fight this. They fight it every step of the way, and I think it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court to get a ruling on it. But the fact is that it should be very simple. It should be a national, at least for national elections, that you can't vote without an ID. And if they have to, because I know one of the arguments is they say that some poor people can't afford an ID, well, then provide it for them free of charge.
There you go.
Not that much cost. And as a taxpayer, I'll let a few cents of my tax dollars go to pay for those IDs. That's fine. I'd rather have legitimate elections and have to pay a few cents for somebody's ID than have the fraud that we have now.
Absolutely. Okay, that's subject number one. Subject number two, and I know you've written about it in your Horse Sense blog, and you've given it a lot of thought. Doug, as it stands today, in October 22nd, Wednesday, what are your thoughts and fears about the Ebola crisis and virus, and how this administration is not handling it?
Well, as I wrote, I think a week or 2 weeks ago in my blog, I think there are ulterior motives behind how they're handling it. I believe there's a short-term and a long-term. As I said back then, the short-term, I think, is to flood our borders. If they can get this to the point where it even takes off south of our border, the people in Central and South America will flee for our borders so fast it's ridiculous. Panic will ensue. You'll flood our health care and our welfare systems and collapse us economically, and then they can replace the free market capitalist system. So I think short-term, that very well, and that's my theory. I have nothing to base that on. I haven't heard somebody speaking in the corner of a room with the president saying that, but it just fits too well, because everything else he does so well. He is extremely good at achieving his goals, and so I can't help but believe there's some evil goal behind this too. Long term, I think it falls into the Agenda 21 issue, which of course was signed into law by George H.W. Bush and followed through by Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, and now Barack Obama has gone full speed ahead on it. And one of their goals is to reduce the world population, and certainly a spread of disease would do that.
Doug, as we look at this situation, they've named as a czar, and this is such a almost cartoon-type situation. This Ron Klain, okay, he is supposed to be the Obama Zen-meister of Ebola. He hasn't gone to any of the informational meetings, and they're already talking about this guy catapulting himself out of this position and taking another job. The man has no medical background, whatever. What a waste of time and money.
Well, whether you realize or not, you've really raised 3 points, and we may actually end up disagreeing on part of this, but I'll take a stab at them. Catapulting to another job doesn't surprise me. That's how it works in politics, and everything with Obama is about power and control, not about solving problems. So that wouldn't surprise me if he did that. I think the fact that many of us have been critical, he hasn't been to meetings. I learned the other day that, actually, the major meetings, he wasn't even due to officially start in the job till the day after the last of the meetings, so I don't know what to think of that. The bigger issue, and this is where I think we may disagree, is I do not agree he has to be a healthcare expert or a doctor. I don't think he has to be at all, because good management does not necessarily mean expertise in that specific field. It means overseeing things, and that's what he should be doing, is overseeing things, facilitating things, just as Obama should be doing, but isn't. So that's my opinion as a businessman, but I know there are people who will disagree and say, no, it absolutely must be a doctor, and it must be somebody who understands the whole thing. I think good leadership surrounds themselves with people that will have those skills and be able to give them the information they need. So that may be one that I suspect we may disagree on.
Well, you know, you never want to put a halter on the horse if you're not sure if it's going to buck or not. Here's the deal. I'm not going to argue your point because you bring up a valid point, but I think for the public trust in a very scary situation, Ebola, and naturally people are going to, oh no. And I think maybe it would be better served to create a public information officer with somebody that does have medical backgrounds that could instill a calming effect on the public rather than somebody that doesn't have a medical background.
Well, I think that's a very valid point because this does create fear. They obviously don't tell the American public all they know because they're afraid of creating a panic or a fear. I don't think Americans are that stupid. I think Americans will take truth and deal with it, and I think people function better with information than being left in a vacuum. And I think you make a good point. If the figurehead is a person who has that background, that could give some feeling of comfort to the people, so that could be a very valid point.
You know, I want to shoot over now after I've got to do a little commercial break. You understand that we're in the middle of political season, so I know you'll understand, so bear with me just 30 seconds. Representative Fred Wood running unopposed for representative in District 27. Fred is the chair of the Health and Welfare Committee and on the Resources Environment Committee, and I'll tell you what, this man has always listened, always worked for the people of District 27, protecting Idaho's water and creating a positive economic environment, supporting natural resource industries, and helping preserve traditional Idaho. Fred wants to thank everybody that's voted for him in the past, and he encourages you to get out and vote on November 4th and vote yes for the constitutional amendment HJR 2, paid for by Representative Fred Wood for the House seat number 27. Doug, I know you're up on this story. You've written about it. But here we have five really bad guys in Guantanamo Bay. And they represent the worst of the worst as far as killers and vermin of the human race and as far as being terrorists. And President Obama releases them to go back to Yemen and live in a home and be good little boys and read their Boy Scout manual. He released them in exchange for Bo Bergdahl. And now we're hearing that Al-Qaeda terror leaders have visited them at least on a couple of occasions and picked their brains. What kind of nonsense is this, Doug?
Well, sadly, it's not a surprise. The Bush administration, a number of the people they let out also went back to fight with the terrorists too, and I don't understand why they're getting out. This makes no sense to me. But I think that this shouldn't surprise Americans. It should just tell us a little bit more about our president, who he does not believe they're terrorists, really. That's why you so rarely hear him use the term. He believes they're freedom fighters, and he equates them to our founding fathers of our own country, which obviously they're not. But because of that mindset and his desire to get us out of the Middle East and turn over to Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood, I think he justifies it and just ignores what happens. And obviously he doesn't care about the American people, Zeb, because if he did, we would not see the actions we've seen for the last 6 years.
My microphone, I happened to unplug the cord, Doug. I apologize.
That was a great statement, but okay.
No, I agree with you, but coming up at 10:06 this morning, I'm going to have Dick Morris on my program, and he's got that new book called Power Grab, and I'm going to ask him some of the same thoughts, because in his book and his thoughts, and I want you to respond to this, he is extremely worried, extremely afraid about what's going to happen in the next 10 years with this man assaulting and stomping and stepping on our Constitution and turning basically into a dictator.
I'm not sure what your question is there.
I just want to see if you agree with that response as far as our concerns and worries about Obama.
Yeah, I think so, but I think that, and I know that, Dick's written 10 bestseller books and 14 or 15 overall, and I think he, a little bit of it is for promotion, that's okay, but I think one mistake that's made and I see this constantly by those of us on the right, is it's so easy for us to put a face and a name to what we're up against. And we use the face and the name, of course, of the figurehead, Barack Obama. And the problem with that is that when we do that, we're allowing people to think, if we can just get past this president, we'll be okay. And the problem is so much deeper, because it's not Obama. Any other Democrat who gets into power will be the same thing, because they have bought into the progressive agenda, and they're all on the same path. Right now it's Barack Obama. If the next person is Elizabeth Warren, or it's Hillary Clinton, or John Doe Democrat, we will have the same problem. We'll just be a few more years down the road. So I think that we have to see that we're fighting a much bigger issue than just this one man.
All right, I want to talk one last time, another subject this morning, about advertising in politics. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see the latest advertising posters that came out in Georgia. I saw them. They're despicable, and I want you to comment on them. There are posters showing two little black children, and they're holding a picture of some bloodied hands. And the gist of the poster is, hands up, don't shoot. And what the Democrats did is they put together this poster, and basically they're exploiting Ferguson, Missouri, and saying by voting Democrat to keep from being shot. This is despicable and the lowest form of political advertising that I have ever seen.
I have not seen them. I'm not surprised by them. I'm saddened by them that our society's gotten to that point. But I'm afraid that, this president leading his party has been more effective at dividing our country and bringing racial tensions back that have not been there for a long time than we've seen since I was a kid. And I think it's very, very sad to see that, because there are people who live in fear and will believe that kind of nonsense. Most of us should just look at it, scoff at it, throw it away, and say this is stupid. But sadly, there are people who will believe it, and that's really sad. And I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was Alveda King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece, recently, who said that Barack Obama proves that voting for... Excuse me, I can't talk today. She said it proves that voting for a person based on their skin color does not work. And I think that's very well said, but I'm afraid a lot of people don't understand that.
Doug, I'm going to give you a chance right now. We've got about 4 minutes left, and I'm always throwing subjects at you, but I want you to pick and choose. It's kind of a potpourri time for you to grab the last subject this morning and tell us what is on your mind as being worrisome this morning.
Well, my most recent blog post really is on my mind. It deals with two things. The President has had the Department of Homeland Security decide that in 2015, so they can get past the midterm elections here in a couple weeks, they're going to do something called Haitian family reunification. And they're going to bring in at least 100,000 Haitians without visas and grant them access to our country. Under the moral guise that we're bringing families together, and this will help rebuild families and rebuild Haiti that is still in devastation after the hurricanes in the last couple of years. This, I believe, is just a forerunner of what he will do with what's happened on the southern border. And he will take all these children who came in, and he will, sometime before the end of his presidency, my guess is sometime in 2015, he will say, we need to do the same thing for all these people, invite all these Central and South American families to come up and be welcomed into our country. And I support that. There's a link in there. You've probably seen the story, Zeb,
yes,
that he has ordered up to 34 million additional IDs for these people. So he's going to try and get up to 34 million more people that obviously would be all committed Democrats into our country. If he gets 1/4 of that, we will not see a president elected that is Republican in the rest of our lifetimes. And I shouldn't even say our lifetimes, because you and I are older, but the lifetimes of anybody alive today, I don't believe. It'll be that powerful, because the Republicans won't be able to fight those big numbers.
And therein, though, lies a philosophy that it would be the ruination and destruction forever of a multi-party system in the United States, and just basically the Democrats rule. If you don't like it, that stuff, get out of Dodge City.
That's right. There'll be a one-party system, exactly. And we sit and we say, well, they should close the borders or whatever. But the fact is, the reason our Republican representatives and senators in Washington, most of them don't do anything about it, is because a huge percentage of the Republican Party support amnesty. And they don't say a lot about it because they want to be reelected, but that's what they support. And so we have a problem in that we as the citizens who don't want it are up against our own Congress that we've elected who do want it.
You know, Doug, I appreciate your insight. Now, I'm going to ask you, you've been going through some personal problems as far as your health is concerned. It's always a treat to have you on this program, and I've told my audience to pray for you and keep you in their prayers. And how are things going?
Well, first, I'm touched, Zeb. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your audience and their prayers. Nothing could be more helpful than prayer, so that is greatly appreciated. Physically, I'm feeling pretty good. We have, I know I've told you about, I have another tumor that's being removed in a couple weeks in my shoulder, but at this point, we think we're on the winning edge because we believe we're catching things early, but we are still catching things. So it's a step at a time, but the good news is I know that God has His hand on my life, and my greatest prayer, as you know, I have a disabled wife. My greatest prayer is that her needs be met whether I'm here or not. And so if I can't be here to take care of her, that something will happen so she'll be okay.
You're a tremendous man.
Thank you very much.
You are a tremendous man, and I'm honored to call you my friend. Doug Johnson, God's blessings to you, and I mean that. And you know that I'm only a phone call away, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Zeb. I'll talk to you next week.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you very much. Dear friend, Doug Johnson in Colorado, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And by the way, please keep him in your prayers. He's gone through just all kinds of problems with skin cancer and tumors and everything, and I just want to wish him and pray for him the very best. Calls are welcome. And Gina, I'm going to ask you a favor. If you would please play at this time the HJR2.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
Thank you very much. And right now also re-elect Clark Kaufman as your District 25 representative to the legislature. Kaufman has served on the Revenue and Taxation Committee, Transportation and Defense Committees, and the Business Committee. He is honest, hardworking, and capable. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 4th, and exercise your constitutional right. Vote Clark Kaufman. Paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman for Idaho State Representative for District 25, Seat B. Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? No, wait a minute. Back up. Stop for a minute. I asked you an honest question. Did you hear that? If you didn't, and you have a little trouble hearing, maybe it's time to go have a hearing screening. Yep. And the place to go and the place to call is Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. Did you hear that? Don't let your hearing dissipate. Don't let it get lower and lower and lower. And don't keep saying, huh. Be sure and give her a call. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Really, some great folks over there. Oh, in just a minute, I got to look at my phone. Gina sent me a note, and I missed. No, she didn't send me a note. That came from somebody else. Good heavens.
No, but I will tell you that your next guest is ready.
You know that when you do that, I all of a sudden go out of the chair about 10 feet in the air. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll be with that guest momentarily, but I'm going to tell everybody about the great fall savings at Lee's Furniture. You better believe it. No money down, no interest on approved credit for 15 months. Holy Holy buckets. And you can get a king-size mattress for the price of a queen. You can get a queen for the price of a full, and you're going to save a whole bunch of money. And they've got dinette sets on sale, too. You know, Thanksgiving is literally around the corner. Peak. There it is, Thanksgiving. And if you don't have a dinette set and all the family's coming over and everything, well, you'll be sitting on the floor. Don't do that. Get a dinette set from Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Absolutely the best people with all the furniture needs and carpet needs for your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Well, we're going to go to the phone lines right now. And I've been looking forward to visiting with this man. I had a nice little visit with him briefly last evening at his home down in Arizona. He is a man of the people. He's fighting for common sense, and that's Mr. Russell Cook. And he's going to talk about exposing the merchants of smear when it comes to purported global warming. Russell, good morning. How are you?
Doing fine. How are you doing?
If I was any better, the wrong fat man would be wearing my clothes. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy on all this onslaught of global warming, climate change, Al Gore, polar bears. Good heavens, help me.
Well, the first thing that entered my mind when I first started hearing about this way back in 1988, 1989, somewhere in that vicinity of time was, and you're probably old enough to remember this too, judging from the color of your hair, which about matches mine.
Yes, sir.
My first question that popped into my mind was, what happened to global cooling?
Right.
And I distinctly remember that. One of the talking points you hear out these days is that, oh, the global cooling thing was just a single story in Newsweek, very obscure. And I'm thinking, no, I was there for it. I distinctly remember being in my grade school science class in a discussion amongst the students, classmates and myself, not prompted by the teacher either, mind you, just something that came up. And this was like 1977, 78, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the impending calamity of global cooling. Famine, crop failures, extreme weather, and the bleak prospect of ice sheets advancing all the way down to where we lived in New Mexico. And one of my classmates, I distinctly remember this, turned to me and said, "Aren't you worried about this?" And since I'm not going to quit my day job anytime to be a comedian, I remember the joke I made in response to it. I said, "No, I'm not really worried. I'm pretty sure I can outrun a glacier." And stop and think about that for just a moment, because what we hear these days is not, of course, advancing ice sheets. It's global sea level rise.
Right.
And they're the same thing. If you really dive into the science of it, you know, not just the superficial things you hear on the news, we're all going to die from sea level rise. You start looking into it, this is a process, if it actually occurs, it's supposed to be occurring right now, but you never hear about that sort of news reports out of any other place other than politically correct locations like Tuvalu or some Pacific islands. But you don't hear about it in the Aleutians or somewhere down on the coast of South America. Mm-hmm. But since this process is supposed to take place over the span of, I don't know, 100 years, 75 years, that's what, 2 or 3 generations? Pretty much everybody is going to be able to outrun sea level rise. There's not going to be this climate refugees thing like what is put in these superficial news reports. So that's basically my philosophy, if you want to get it down to a nutshell, is that I don't just fall for these tremendous statements. I look them up, I find contradictions to them, and then I say, well, what's up with the contradictions? What happened to global cooling? Why is it that sea level rise is supposed to inundate Bangladesh, but that's a country that's largely a river delta, and when you go and look into that, river deltas actually build faster than what little amounts of sea level rise there is, so they're not going to drown anytime soon. That's basically it.
All right, now, Russell, let me ask you this. It's not really a question, it's kind of a statement on my part. What you said just a moment ago triggered a lot of thought, and in my files someplace, I have the cover of Time magazine and the statement on the cover that says, entering a new ice age, like you said, back into the 70s, etc. What happened? Why was there this transition of thought by the so-called Al Gores and everybody else that knows more about the environment than we do? Why did they all of a sudden ignore the cyclical aspects of temperature and climate change and not go along with the cooling, but they started saying we're going to burn up?
That is a dang good question. I kind of wish that I could find the origins of that and the change in attitude or something. I'm thinking, just kind of a random guess on my part, is that for some reason, since it wasn't happening all that rapidly enough where people were seeing, humongous amounts of additional snow or this and that, they were aware of it, but it didn't sound plausible to that time. And so it could be that Al Gore and Senator Tim Wirth, who is another senator back at that time in the mid-late 1980s, who didn't get fame out of this deal, and Al Gore did, they sort of said, global warming sounds a lot worse than global cooling, and so maybe we'll glom on to the reports that are coming out about that, because there was kind of a swing on that. But as one of my other internet pals, a man by the name of Tony Heller, who actually has a blog under the pseudonym Stephen Goddard, he has a whole collection of historical articles from newspapers and magazines and various science reports going back over the last century or more, and it kind of goes all over the map. So if anything, my best guess, and it's a worthwhile question for everybody to ask too, is did Senator Gore, Senator Tim Wirth, the climate scientist Stephen Schneider, did they just kind of decide that this sounded better, and so in order to push whatever environmentalist agenda, did they just say, let's skip global warming, that doesn't sound as good, we'll try global warming instead of global cooling?
I disagree somewhat, and very respectfully I'm going to submit this, and I want your perusal on this and give me your answer. I honestly think this is all part of a huge Agenda 21 campaign of redistribution of wealth and the tearing down and the animosity of America and what we have and the jealousies of others that are looking for any and all ways to take America apart like a jigsaw puzzle.
There's an element of that I agree with also, because it's I can't quite follow the tide of change from global cooling to global warming, because it doesn't exactly make logical sense. But there is that redistribution of wealth thing that I have run across by accident, because the primary focus of my own work, which it doesn't have anything to do with science, it's about the politics of the issue, where we are told these days that skeptic climate scientists are paid shills of the fossil fuel industry. I stopped focusing on the science of that and tried to figure out where that accusation came from. And the one of the primary people who made that accusation stick back in the late 1995, early 1996, was a person by the name of Ross Gelbspan, ex-Boston Globe editor and reporter. And what I have run across in his various cataclysmic proclamations that we're all going to die, and skeptic climate scientists know this, but they're lying and paid oil industry and coal industry money. I thought, well, what was his motivation? Does he have like a background reason beyond just planet stewardship or we must not die? And what I found when you go deeper into his own narratives is, guess what? Redistribution of wealth. He talks about the richness of the North, meaning the Northern Hemisphere, and how, we can save the planet by having the South, South America, Africa, poor countries, build green energy items, solar, wind, and all this, and then we can share the wealth. And I thought, oh, great. If he wanted to push that agenda, why doesn't he just push that agenda and forget the climate thing?
Right. You know, Russell, when you think about the overall picture, and you know so much more about this, exposing the merchants of smear, but when you think about these Hollywood actors, whether it's Matt Damon or whether it's anybody else getting involved in climate...
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, etc. The idiocy of their involvement in this and purporting that they know so much about climate change and that we're all going to burn up, they don't realize that because they're destroying the economy, they're also destroying their meal ticket for people to even have the opportunity to drive or go to a cool theater in the summertime to view their movies. The absolute incompetence of their thinking just absolutely, it puts me in the back row. I don't understand them at all.
It makes me laugh sometimes, too, because one could get very mad and angry and worked up and lose sleep over these, like the UN agenda, the Agenda 21, which is actually significantly more complicated than on surface level. But as I discovered when I worked very briefly 19 days for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow on their Rio Plus 20 little thing down there in Rio de Janeiro, where they had the 20th anniversary of the whatever conference that was on that. And it turns out they were just lecturing about redistribution of wealth. But that's another irony when it comes to these Hollywood limousine liberals and those types, is that here they will stand up there and are advocating basically like taking away any economic wealth that the Central Africans might have if you just enslave them to solar-powered stoves and no coal-fired electricity. And therefore these people will never go to any Leonardo DiCaprio movie anytime soon. But the other irony is that they always lecture us, and the Greenpeace people too, and Al Gore, and even the mainstream media people, some of them, when they say, oh, the teeming rabble, the Rush Limbaugh listeners, the Zeb Bell listeners, I guess, that we're ignorant. And the irony there is that a person like myself, and just trying to get to the bottom of this, I look at extensive lengths at the alarmist material. I own, or had, I managed to misplace it, a copy of Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. I watched that thing a couple different times. But the people on the Greenpeace side, IPCC side, the Al Gore side, they always say, well, I don't listen to skeptics because they're crooks, and that means that they don't have the first clue what skeptic climate scientists say at great length. So who's the ignorant here in this particular issue?
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. As you look ahead, and you study this every day, I look at various stories, and I listen to various people, and I try to keep myself abreast of what's happening with the purported climate change issue. I look at this as, yes, I believe it's going to diminish what we can do in a free society. Yes, I think it's going to hurt us economically. Yes, I think our energy programs are going to take a hit, almost to the point where they want us to live in caves and burn buffalo dung. But I don't understand how you can destroy the world's best economy that helps everybody else, and people will benefit from it. And that's why I'm confused as to why people like Barack Obama and others are pushing this.
That's the thing that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because to me, there's just elements of this agenda pushing that's irrational or delusional or something. It just makes you scratch your head, because it's almost as though, first of all, they don't understand the fundamental premise of the science, and how that the skeptic climate scientists, they do acknowledge that there has been a small amount of global warming over the last century. That's another talking point that implodes, by the way, this whole deal that skeptics deny the existence of climate change or global warming. I always challenge any critic who says that. Show me where any skeptic has denied it outright. They might use the words like it's a hoax, Senator Inhofe of Oklahoma, but he doesn't just say that and then walk out of the room. He gave a 2-some-hour speech back in 2006 of how the science points out that what little amount that's happening is so small as to be almost undetectable. But why they keep pushing this and then thinking that somehow or other that they're going to be not affected themselves, because if you shut down all the coal plants, well, within the next few years, and then are solely dependent on solar power and wind power, you're going to have electrical outages. You're going to have the poorest people, which the Democrats and far-left liberals are supposed to be protecting. They're going to be the ones hardest hit. You know, the old proverbial women and minorities hardest hit. And it's like, why are they trying to destroy their own people in the pursuit of something that is likely a natural change anyway that we cannot stop? To me, the irrational thought processes behind it is just baffling.
Well, there's one other point I want to make with you this morning and have you discuss in the time that we have remaining, and I've got roughly about 4.5 minutes. The concepts of almost incompetency and idiocy by the liberal left over global warming, and one subject that is hardly ever talked about, Russell, and that is agriculture, food, and feeding the world. In a colder climate, it's going to be extremely difficult to feed the world. In a warmer climate, you have a much better chance for an advanced state of agriculture. What is the matter with these people when it comes to providing food?
Another strange and irrational thought process, because as was more or less proven by both Dr. Sherwood Idso and his son Craig Idso, who are PhD-level scientists working right here in Arizona, that what small amounts of additional CO2 in the atmosphere that are either naturally occurring or man-made, it doesn't really matter, it's still the same chemical, is beneficial to plants. If there is a small amount of warming, and remember the warming we're talking about over the last century is about 1 degree or 3, something in that range. I can never quite get a good handle on it. But if that does actually cause, like all the Greenpeace people are so worried about, plant crops moving north because it's actually warmer, guess what? You have more available corn crops, wheat crops to feed the world. It's actually a benefit. And they're always trying to say that this toxic gas, CO2, which is a trace gas, a human emissions amount in an overall trace amount in the atmosphere. We got lots more nitrogen and oxygen and all that. Mm-hmm. That this is somehow extremely bad, and they have yet to prove really conclusively that it wouldn't be a bit of a benefit. Look at the medieval warm period back when my Viking ancestors were farming in Greenland. There's direct evidence of that. The Roman optimum time when disease actually was proven by various people to be less prevalent than in the Dark Ages, which was a time of global cooling.
Russell, one final thought. The political climate in this country, and I just can't understand it with Obama and then also the Democrats leaning towards the election in 2016 of Hillary, and her standing up a couple of weeks ago and saying the greatest threat to mankind right now is global warming. When we have people being beheaded, we have ISIS growing in numbers to cause terrorists all over the world. How in the world can we get away from this absolutely insane philosophy that we're going to burn up?
I always hope that more people, just like myself, I'm not a climate scientist, don't play one on TV, anything like that, that more of us will hold them accountable to these assertions they make, because if global warming is supposed to be such a threat, as one of my other internet pals, Steve Malloy, always says, show us the bodies. Show us the casualties. If the animals are supposed to be dropping dead, show us the proof. And then my own focus of it, when they say, well, don't listen to skeptic scientists, they're paid shills of industry, I say, where is your proof? Al Gore and all the others who hurl that accusation, they'll probably have a deer in the headlights look if more of us, not just me, but anybody else, people can look this up for themselves. They'll say, how do you prove your accusation that we shouldn't listen to skeptics? And then if you can't, how do you prove that we shouldn't listen to them, that this alleged climate calamity is actually happening when you yourselves can't back it up? why don't you focus on the real problems? Greenpeace, why don't they focus on actual human suffering somewhere, the poverty and hunger in third world countries and things like that? So I think we can stop this if we hold them accountable, hold the mainstream media accountable. You say that the global warming is settled. What about the skeptic climate scientists? How do you explain them away?
Absolutely. Russell, I've enjoyed it. I hope you'll consent to come back on the program in the future. A man of the people when it comes to the unfounded facts, and I underline the word facts, of global warming. And Russell Cook, I thank you for coming on. Enjoy Arizona and the warm temperatures, and please come back in the future.
Yes, I will. Pleased to be here, and I hope I can serve as an example that common, ordinary people, just like me, can ask tough questions and hold the 1% or elite people who are trying to ram this down our throats. We can hold them accountable.
All right, sir. I will be in touch. God bless you, and thanks so much for coming on the program.
Again.
Thank you. Very nice man right there from Arizona, and he has, of course, been to many, many of these conferences, the UN Conference on Global Warming, and has attended the Heartland policy briefs back in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm glad to have him on the program talking about the merchants of smear with global warming. Gina, I know that you're patiently waiting for me to hurry up and catch up, which I'm going to try to do. We're going to have a weather forecast real quick, and it's brought to everybody by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Air conditioners, gas furnaces, heat pump, all of this and more through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Rogers from the Ranch. Sunny today, cloudy tonight. That's in our forecast for today. Cooler temperatures, October weather, and that's about it. There is not a lot going on right now for the Magic Valley, which is pretty good. By the same token, next week I'll say exactly why. You probably know, but I'm going to get a better synopsis on what you're going to be going through as far as fall going into winter. Other than that, like I said, sunny today, cloudy tonight, cloudy tomorrow. There you go. Enjoy it. Temperatures, daytime high about 68 for today. Still the weather. Still the weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it. And Lennox Home Comfort Systems, along with Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, bringing you Michael Rogers weather. Gina, my dear, if you wouldn't mind at this time possibly playing a good word for Idaho Senator on the national level, Jim Risch.
Mitt Romney on Jim Risch. Jim Risch is a person who you can count on to help build jobs, to say no to the growth of government, to say no to the growth of taxes, to say yes to family values, and to stand up for the people of our nation and the state of Idaho. This is a man of integrity, honesty, and character.
Jim Risch is the person we can trust to fight for us in Washington. Jim Risch for the U.S. Senate.
I'm Jim Risch, and I approve this message.
Paid Risch for U.S. Senate.
Thank you very, very much. And boy, I tell you, Gina, you are good. Having everything right there at a fingertips notice, I appreciate that. Going to visit with you in just a minute. Stand by. I want to remind everybody about Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got all the 2015 snow machines in stock. Check out all the great buys. And don't forget, too, to get your ATV service for the winter and all your watercraft service, too. You don't want to leave it laying around and then all of a sudden next spring go, uh-oh, we made a goof. I'll tell you what, take them over there and have them treated royally at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. And don't forget, they've got all the accessories, and it's never too early to start Christmas shopping. They've got all those accessories as great gift ideas. Yep, where the fun is sold, Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're open 9 to 6. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Barack Obama sold the people a bill of goods about all these great changes he was going to make, like flooding the United States with non-speaking welfare recipients. Now, my suspicions say, why isn't he doing all he can about this Ebola thing? Because this morning there was another lady someone came in from Africa with all the signs of Ebola. Is that one of his great changes? Is going to be flood the country with Ebola people?
I'm at a loss, Tony. I do not understand in any way, shape, or form, and neither do the medical people that I've talked to. I've talked to doctors, I've talked to nurses, I've talked to people that are far more knowledgeable about medicine than I will ever be, even though I've been operated on 18 times. Why this president is absolutely using his ideology instead of common sense. He should have shut down everything coming into this country and isolated the sources for cure and possible containment over in other countries where it's a problem, not brought it into this country, the United States.
I think this guy so far has made it quite clear what his objective is about destroying this country and bringing it back to, something that he wants.
Well, there's no question in my mind that 2 more years, very dangerous years, with Obama stepping on the Constitution and basically wielding his pen and his phone, I'm very concerned. Whether it's energy problems, whether it's national security problems, whether it's medical problems with Ebola, etc., I don't trust this man. I've never liked this man. I think he's nothing more than an ideologue that's going to destroy this country. I agree with you.
And there's too many of his own Democrats are pushing him into his agenda. And that's about it.
I agree. Tony, always good to hear from you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
God bless you. Thank you much. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They've got it all for you right there at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. But above all, they've got the knowledge and the ability to make sure that you're treated fairly and covered. So please get a hold of them today. Dean and Todd, accessible and devoted to serving others. And that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment, 436-4424. Real quick, and then I'll take a call. Stand by. I want to remind you the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Today, Wednesday, chicken pot pies served with choice of potato, veggies, and super salad. Ooh, that sounds good. I love chicken pot pies. You will too, along with all the other menu items and the great people at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Got exactly a minute left. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How come Congress don't pass the rules and that to force the president in doing it? They're as guilty of it as he is.
I'm not going to argue that point with you at all. I have said for a long time, if you've listened to this program, that I am absolutely appalled as to the jelly spine attitude that these congressmen and senators have, and it's all for getting reelected instead of standing up and forming constituencies of power back there and going into the Oval Office and saying, now look, Obama, this is what's going to happen, not what you want to do.
And we keep putting them back in.
To the extent of answering that question, in short, yes. And I'm fed up with it, and I want to see some people with guts. I don't want to see everybody getting along, singing Kumbaya, holding hands. I want to see some people that are going to get something done for you and me.
And with all the Republicans we're going to put in there now and give them control, there isn't nothing going to change.
Now, wait a minute. Why damn the Republicans when you've got Democrats that are absolutely leading the Senate right now? How can you say that?
Because the Republicans that are in there are speaking up, saying nothing can change with Obamacare, and there isn't nothing they can do about it.
So basically, doggone it, I wished I hadn't run out of time. Call me back at a later time or tomorrow morning, okay?
Okay.
I love to talk to you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Got to run to the news. And then we're going to go with Dick Morris. Stand by. I'll be back in 6. Oh, welcome back. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Along with some of our great advertisers, we're really appreciative of Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call and get on the route service. Call them at 734-6969. We'll have our guest with us in just a moment. I want to remind you, too, to Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke of District 27, urges you to go vote in the midterm election on November 4th. Scott very concerned for Idaho and its growth and prosperity, and he is really concerned about the future of the United States, and he urges you to exercise your patriotic duty and vote on November 4th, and also vote yes for the constitutional amendment HJR 2, paid for by Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke of Oakley, District number 27. Very honored this morning to have with us a gentleman that is a best-selling author and political strategist, and he has a brand new book out that we're going to talk about this morning. It's called Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation, and we say good morning to Mr. Dick Morris. Dick, good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Zeb. How are you doing?
I am great,
Good.
and I got to tell you something. I loved your book.
I've been in Idaho, you know. I've been in Idaho Fall.
Which is only about a hop, skip, and a jump from me up into eastern Idaho, and I'm glad that I wanted to meet you when you were here the last time, and I didn't get the chance, but I'm so appreciative that you're here this morning. Loved your book, plain and simple. I think it's excellent, and the first sentence was, I think, kind of a preview as to the rest of the book. President Barack Obama, the former constitutional law professor, is at war with the U.S. Constitution. Take it from there, Dick. What are your thoughts about what this man's trying to do?
He's trying to create a permanent one-party system in the United States, kind of like you have in California, or worse, in Mexico. And his concept is, I think, based on immigration, entitlement, and coercion. You start with immigration. He's using any excuse he can to change the demographics of this country so they're dominated by the Democratic Party. He just sent out invitations to 100,000 Haitians to come to the United States to be reunited with their families and legally and then proceed to become citizens. He let in 100,000 Syrians last month as refugees. Late last year, he let in 100,000 Iraqis as refugees. He set up a refugee center in Guatemala where people from Central America can go and apply legally to come to the United States in excess of their quota as refugees, even though there's no war or disease or anything like that. And of course, he has 12 million already here who he's about to announce he's not going to deport. And I think that's part one of it. But what he then does is the Justice Department has told voter registrars around the country that it is illegal for them to drop anyone's name from the voter rolls unless 4 years have elapsed since they last voted or last returned their postcards. So there are 3 to 5 million dead people on the voter rolls and more than 20 million who've moved. And what's happening is a lot of those people are voting twice, once where they were and once where they moved to. North Carolina did a study, which they're further investigating now, and concluded that in the 2012 election, 35,000 people voted in North Carolina and in another state in the same election. Somebody else in the other state had the same first name, last name, birth date, and in a quarter of the cases where they had Social Security numbers, they matched up. And what's going on is that with ACORN and other liberal groups, they're getting a hold of illegal immigrants and coming in and saying, hi, my name is Dick Morris, I'd like to vote here in Ohio. In the meantime, Dick Morris has moved to North Carolina. And without photo ID, which the Justice Department is trying to block, you can't stop them from doing it. And then to make things worse, and this gets back to your point about the Constitution, he's trying to eliminate the Electoral College and have the popular vote decide the presidency, because he can steal the popular vote very easily in the ways we're discussing. Mm-hmm. So he's not doing it by amending the Constitution. He's doing an end run around it. He's gotten California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and a bunch of big Democratic states to pass laws. 11 states already have done so, and together they cast 165 electoral votes. And the laws say the electors from our state are not bound to vote for the winner of the popular vote in our state, but instead will vote for the winner of the national popular vote. And when he gets enough states, probably about 21 or 22, that will cast 271 electoral votes to pass this law, the Electoral College will become obsolete. And he's getting some Republican states to pass it, not really understanding what they're doing, so that he can steal the presidency in perpetuity. I think the second part of what he's doing is through subsidies. He's basically trying to put the whole country on welfare and make them dependent on the federal government. When you add up food stamps, disability, welfare, and Medicaid, not counting Social Security or Medicare, you have 105 million people on means-tested entitlements paid by the government. And when he took office, it was only 70 million.
That's right.
So that's 35 million new Democratic voters. And, Zeb, I believe that the purpose of Obamacare, its ultimate purpose, has nothing to do with health care. It's to get 10 or 15 million middle-class Americans who would not be dependent on the government otherwise to become dependent by kicking them off their own health insurance, making them take a government plan, and making it necessary for them to take a subsidy to afford that plan, so they go on the dole as well.
Dick, while you're...
Finally, if you bear with me, I think the third part is coercion. You know about the IRS audits, of course, of conservative groups, and he recently issued an executive order requiring all federal contractors to disclose their campaign contributions, even if they otherwise would not have to.
Right.
And that's to intimidate them from giving to the Republicans. And I think climate change has to be seen in that context. What he's doing is passing a set of greenhouse emission rules, gas emission rules that are so draconian, no business, no mine, no ranch, no farmer, no trucking company can possibly obey them. And they're all going to need to go to the EPA for waivers. And those waivers will, of course, only be given to Democratic firms. It's like the papal indulgences you used to have to get to be able to sin.
Hey, Dick, let me ask you this. I think a lot of people, and I know you run into people every day that probably say the same thing, that they think Obama is inept and very amateur, but I don't. I think this man is very calculating and very dangerous and is out for a complete transition of America to the negative. What are your thoughts? I know you talk about it in the book.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's the thesis of my book. He's not a failure. By his own lights, he's a raving success. It's not that he's mismanaging the economy. It's that he knows that the more prosperous we get, the more likely we are to vote Republican. And the poorer we are, the more likely we are to vote Democrat. So when he adopts policies that kill jobs and retard income growth, like massive immigration that creates such competition at the bottom end of the wage scale that nobody can make a living at that level, he's doing it deliberately because he wants them not to be self-supporting but to be dependent on the government.
When you talk about dependency, I had a question I wanted to ask you about that, and you highlighted it just a moment ago, but the vote for many Americans now is not a vote of choice for better leadership, but it is a vote of dependency. They need their free stuff, and that's not going to change with this administration.
Yep, absolutely. And let me just comment, I guess you've been talking about the attack in Canada today.
Yes.
You have been, yeah. There was a concerted effort by Obama to convince us that terrorism isn't happening in the U.S. and Canada when it's happening right before our eyes. Only now are American media covering the fact that 2 days ago, 2 Canadian soldiers were run over by an Islamist in a car after ISIS urged its Canadian members to attack Canadian soldiers because they're participating with the U.S. against ISIS, and urged them to run them over with their cars. And they killed the guy who did it, and on his website is all of this jihadist stuff. And probably this attack today in Canada is part of that. And finally, at last, maybe we'll be able to bypass the administration's censorship and have us understand that ISIS is already here, that woman in Oklahoma who was beheaded was not an incident of workplace violence, as Obama called it, but rather terrorism.
Dick, where's the leadership of the Republican Party? Where's the leadership from Congress? Where's the leadership in the Senate? Where are people going to step up and say enough is enough?
Well, I think that if we get control of the Senate, I think you're going to see a lot of important steps that roll back his agenda. One big one, by the way, was the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Texas photo ID law, which will help stop the kind of fraud I was describing. I think the other thing is that if we control the Senate, we will have Congress can go line by line in that budget and say, none of this money may be used to suspend deportations. You have to continue with deportations, or you have to eliminate the death panel in Obamacare. Stuff like where you can literally legislate policy through the budget. And Obama can't veto that unless it's so horrific that he's willing to close down the government over it. And I think that you're going to see very significant incremental change if we get control of the Senate. In terms of the national elections of 16, there are two developments and possibly three that are emerging that make us understand that Obama and the party will be massively defeated. One is the stock market crash, which I think will continue. And I think there's always a dip and then a recovery and then a crash. So the big boys have time to get their money out. Secondly, the ISIS attack that very possibly was behind the attack in Parliament, say, in Canada. That signals the return to major domestic terror threat. And thirdly, nobody has any idea about Ebola, but his refusal to impose a flight ban is courting disaster.
I know that you talk in your book about energy, and it was one of the more interesting chapters for me, because without a good, solid energy program, it's ridiculous to think that we can take care of everything we need for a progressive nation on solar and wind. We have unlimited resources of energy to still be the world leader, but this administration and the left will not let them be used. What are your thoughts for my audience?
Yeah. Well, fracking, hydraulic fracking, does not in any way endanger the water supply. That's like an old wives' tale. The water supply is 10 feet below the surface. The fracking is 10,000 feet below the surface. And if it could come up to the water level, we wouldn't need to frack. The point is that the United States, with this new technology, has the potential to dominate the world's energy market. And by working with Canada and Mexico, form a North American OPEC that will control the market. And the Keystone Pipeline is an essential element of that to pool American and Canadian resources. So he's naturally trying to stop that. He also has banned hydraulic fracking on federal land. And all of the increase in production that's going on now is state land or privately owned land. That's a very significant increase. We went from 7.5 million to 8.5 million barrels a day from last year to this year. And it'll keep going up, I think, by 1 million a year for the next 4 or 5 years, until the United States becomes overwhelmingly the largest energy producer in the world. Now, in terms of clean environment, even if you buy global warming and think it's happening, the most important thing we can do is to replace coal with natural gas. Obama, which has half the emissions, Obama is saying replace coal with solar and wind. That's going to take 20 years and cost a massive amount of money. But you can quickly switch it to natural gas, and the natural gas you get from fracking. So fracking is really not only not bad for the greenhouse gas emissions, it's vital to it because natural gas is so much cleaner than coal.
As a former political advisor to past President Bill Clinton, you know the Clintons better than anybody, I would assume. In 2016, if Hillary runs and is elected as president, are we going to see more of the same or even worse as far as what we're seeing now with Barack Obama?
I think every element that I described in this show will continue under Hillary. But there'll be two other elements that are not present in the Obama administration that would be in a Hillary presidency. One is financial corruption. She's very avaricious. When Bill was governor, she donated his underwear for a tax deduction, and she took $1,000 and made $100,000 in the futures market under the guidance of a lobbyist of a state-regulated industry. And then she wouldn't release her tax returns until the statute of limitations on insider trading had run, so that she couldn't be prosecuted for it. I think the second thing is that Hillary has a uniquely personal enemies list, and with uniquely personal grudges attached. Obama doesn't have that. And I think that would be an important part of her presidency. By the way, to stop her from becoming president, my wife, Eileen, has a new website called thehillarydaily.com. thehillarydaily.com.
Okay.
Right now she has an article on it, for example, that Oscar de la Renta just died, and she has an article about the $100,000 worth of dresses that he donated to Hillary that never appeared on her gift forms. So go to thehillarydaily.com.
All right, one final point here.
I got to go. That beep was another call coming in for another show. But I appreciate the chance to talk to people in Idaho again.
We'll tell everybody to buy the book, Power Grab, by Dick Morris and Eileen McGann.
You have one of the best education commissioners in the country. What is his name? I forget it. But he is absolutely fantastic. And do you know his name?
You're talking about Tom Luna?
Yeah,
yes.
I am.
Yes.
Luna. And he has just done incredible things in Idaho, and the whole rest of the country has been paying attention.
Dick, I want to say thank you. I know you got another call. I'll be in touch, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Author of Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. Dick Morris and Eileen McGann, the co-authors of this book, and it's available at all major bookstores all across the United States. And I urge you to get it. I received a copy, it's been about a week and a half ago, and it's not a long read. It's about 200 pages, and excellent book, and it just lays everything out about how dangerous, basically that's the key word, Obama is for not only what he's trying to impose on the American public, you and I, but also for the progressive attitude towards a one-party nation. Very, very scary. Thank you very much, Gina, for getting him on the air this morning, and all the phone connections and everything went well, so we appreciate that. And I think right now I'd like to ask Gina over at the main studio. I got to look at my list here, and I believe we have, I got to check here, time for this word for HJR2.
Vote yes November 4th for HJR2, a constitutional amendment to keep the power of Idaho governance with the people. Vote yes on HJR2 to limit executive power over you and your business. Vote yes on HJR2 to keep your legislators working for your needs, not special interest groups. Vote yes on HJR2 to preserve the voice of we the people for the state of Idaho. Vote yes on HJR2. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House Speaker Scott Bedke, and Senator Dean Cameron. Vote yes on HJR2.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, by the way, as you know, I've been having some problems with my legs after I had that surgery last January, and I've been going over to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and his staff, absolutely phenomenal. You'll feel the same way. They've got the pool over there for the hydrotherapy, and by the way, it's the only pool around like that, and excellent exercises, a very friendly staff, and all the options to help you get back to being you. These folks really understand, and they take a look at each and every individual case, and they develop a program just for you. I really emphatically urge you to give them a call at 678-1191, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, absolutely helping you get back to being you. Oh my goodness, we've got a lot of things covering here, and I also want to mention to you about another dear friend of this program in this area. He's been a real asset, and that's Senator Jim Patrick from District 25. Jim's been a local farmer for over 40 years, and he says thank you to everybody that has supported him as senator from District 25. He appreciates the support, and he urges you to go vote November 4th and let your voice be heard. Jim has a deep understanding of water issues, and of course, he's farmed on the salmon tract for a long, long time, and he wants you to go vote. He's the vice chair of the Commerce and Human Resources. He's on the Agricultural Affairs Committee and the Education Committee, and he wants your vote. Paid for by Jim Patrick for Senator, District 25. We got just a minute here before we have to go to the break at the bottom of the hour. Gina, I hope your day's settled down to a mild roar like mine has.
No, My day just gets busier and more frantic as the day goes on.
You know, while we have just a moment, I hate to do this to you, but yeah, I know, but you should see my log sheet. It looks like hieroglyphics in a cave. Could we please have the good word for State Treasurer Ron Crane?
You betcha.
Thank you very much.
Idaho voters should choose a state treasurer with a 16-year record of success in helping improve the lives of Idahoans. Treasurer Ron Crane has nurtured and grown the tax-deductible Ideal College Savings Program, which thousands of Idaho families now use to continue their children's education. And nearly 25,000 Idaho women have gained saving and investing skills through Ron Crane's popular Smart Women, Smart Money training program. Vote Ron Crane for treasurer. Experienced investing, protecting Idaho's taxpayers.
Pay Crane for Idaho State Treasurer.
Thank you very much. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send it back over to our main studios, and I'll be back in just about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Last half hour, we're on the home stretch. And again, our thanks to Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. You and your family will enjoy the comfort through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. I don't know why, but I had this picture in my mind's eye of Gina standing there in front of this computer with two twin Colt 45s in her hands and just blowing the daylights like Thelma and Louise.
It's got a big old bullseye on it, baby.
I tell you what, look out, computer, your days are numbered. Oh, my.
And the sad thing is these are brand new computers.
But wouldn't that be something, though? I mean, you flip out. I mean, you absolutely go into the outer space, and Kim Lee walks in, and there lays the computer with about 37 bullet holes in it.
Have you been here at the studio lately? You know me too well.
You see her strapping on a 38, everybody run for cover. Oh, my goodness. Do we have our guest on the line?
Yes, we do.
He probably doesn't want to come on the line right now. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have the editor-in-chief of a publication called LifeSide News, and I'm getting calls on my cell phone. My goodness, things are having a good time on my dime. John Henry Weston, good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good, thank you. It's good to be with you.
Well, you might rethink that after a few minutes. You never know in the radio business. John, America is really changing. I just had Dick Morris, author and political pundit, on my program, and we were talking about his new book and how things are really going asunder with this administration. We've lost our moral compass. I mean, my goodness, we've got more cares for everybody else except Americans. What are your thoughts about where America is headed right now?
Well, believe it or not, I live in Canada, and when we launched LifeSite News way back in 1997, part of the aim was to warn Americans that what we were experiencing here in terms of the trampling of freedom of religion was coming to you, and that we were trying to warn our American brothers not to give in to this real sort of outcropping of the sexual revolution, which leads to this bash of religious freedom. When we passed same-sex marriage way back in 2005, it was our activists that trained the homosexual activists in Massachusetts as to how they did it and what they did. we were trying to warn America because things like after the passage of same-sex marriage, it didn't end. It's not like, the agenda's done, now we can all relax and have a good time. No way. They went after schools. They went after children in schools to necessarily give them this teaching that all families are equal, Heather has two mommies. The books like that taught the children in the classroom were all there. This was forced down the throats not only of public schools, but also private schools, Christian and Catholic schools. Even though they knew that their faith backgrounds didn't allow for that, they insisted on that being in the schools. In the province of Quebec, you had that by a law. In one of our territories, the education minister told the Catholic bishop there that they could not have the Catholic teaching against homosexuality in the schools. Tough luck, because they're Catholic. And the bishop actually acquiesced. He said, oh, well, okay, because of the situation of some public funding being given to that school system. So, I mean, the incursions on religious freedom are huge, and they're continuing. And so we have to stand up and fight for religious freedom. But these issues are at a loggerhead, and there's really no other way other than to stand up and really fight.
John, no, correct me. You don't mind if I call you John, do you?
No.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it as much as 12 or 13 years ago that in your country of Canada, there was actually a movement way back then to censor and stymie pastors and clergy from the pulpit as to what they could preach and what they couldn't preach? Now it's hit America. Now we've had a lesbian mayor in Houston threaten pastors that she's going to look at their sermons and basically and possibly rip them up. Now we're seeing where people of faith, like these two ministers, man and wife up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, are being subjected to possible jail time and fines because they would not marry a homosexual couple. I mean, our whole moral fabric is falling apart, and it doesn't seem like people care.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things to note, back in Canada when they did that, it was the passage of a hate crime law that just was before our same-sex marriage law went into debate and passage.
Yeah.
And that was very strategic on the part of the homosexual activists here, because it really blunted the conversation from the pulpits. Ministers and priests and pastors were afraid to talk about the issues, so that same-sex marriage seemed to just pass by an unbelievable margin, because they felt unable to speak from the pulpits the truth, the biblical truth on these issues, because they felt that it was illegal and or they might be arrested for saying these things. And to be honest, how can we allow the government to insist that our religious issues, the teachings of Jesus himself, are nothing more than political issues, therefore unable to be said from the pulpit? Nonsense. As Christians, we have to stand up for our faith every bit as much as those Christians that are standing up under ISIS for their faith. They're being killed. They're being tortured. Can we not at least stand up in the face of these autocrats here in America telling us we can't do this? Oh, because what? They're going to sue us or fine us and maybe take us to court and threaten us with jail? You know what? We've got to stand up anyway. I'm a father of 8 children, and I've been standing up in Canada for 20 years now saying this stuff, haven't been arrested yet, and we're willing to speak and stand for the truth of Christ, because when we look at our brothers and sisters, at our Christian brothers and sisters in the Middle East, dying and shedding their blood for the faith, how can we not be inspired to stand up? We're standing up not only for the future of our nation, for the future for our own children and grandchildren. We're standing up for Jesus Christ himself.
You know, I could not agree. That was very eloquent, very well said, John, and I agree with everything you said, and I'm absolutely amazed on this program. I'm very forthright and honest about my feelings and my faith, and I'm not going to change. I think it's an abhorrent sin of homosexuality and transgenderism. These people are saying, oh, God loves me the way I am, and it's not. No, it's a sin just like you and I both sin, but we get on our knees at night and we say, Lord, please forgive me, and I'll try to be a much better person the next day. They don't, and they push for acceptance. And this is why I'm so upset. 80% of our population here in the States still is against gay marriage and that gay lifestyle, but it's literally being rammed into our homes, rammed into our television sets, government imposition making us believe in it or try to accept it, and then calling us bigots and hate mongers. How do we stop this onslaught?
Well, one of the key things is to remember the absolute truth that the only true people who are expressing love and mercy toward people with same-sex attraction are Christians. Because by and large, everybody realizes the horrific consequences to the body that this behavior causes. AIDS is centered in the gay male community. Anal cancer is in the gay male community. Breast cancer in the female community. Their lives are shortened by the suicide rate, drug addiction, that are all characteristic of this destructive lifestyle. It has that effect on the body, and it could have eternal consequences on the soul, as we know. So we are regarded as haters and bigots for saying this, but we say it out of love and concern for our brothers and sisters who are experiencing that disordered attraction. Same-sex attraction is there, just like some of us experience, or probably most of us experience, temptations to adultery. Jesus didn't only say, if you're with another woman, he said if you look at another woman with lust, you've already committed adultery in your heart. And so we all have sexual temptations. And our brothers and sisters who are same-sex attracted, if they can stick to the truth of Christ, be chaste, even though they have those strong temptations that way, if they can do that, they can be great examples for all of us who have all sorts of other sexual temptations. We're all on this same road of fighting temptations to evil, and we will all resist them with the grace of Christ. So you want to know who the true lovers are, the true people who are really concerned about homosexual people? It is the Christians.
John, did you ever, in your history of being a part of the media, did you ever anticipate that we would see such rocky roads as far as morality is concerned in such a short period of time? I guess what I'm getting at is, man, all of a sudden they raised the curtain and here it was, and it's just permeated every aspect of our society.
Yes, the whole reason why we formed back in 1997 was exactly because we saw this coming. This was sort of, you could see it from a mile away, but, in the beginning, when you said it, people always called you an alarmist, or, you're exaggerating, but in fact, here we are with the very worst that we thought possible happening. In fact, I would suggest more will happen because, as Cardinal George said, Cardinal George is the now retired Cardinal of Chicago, he said, and publicly, that he expected that he would die in his bed. His successor, he expected to die in prison, and his successor after that to be martyred for the faith or killed for the faith. And the thing is, why is that? Because we are standing for the truths that are conflicting with the will of the world. And remember, Bishop's tenure isn't usually, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 years. So we're not talking 20 years down the road when he predicts there will be Christian martyrs of the faith in our own nation.
You look at our leadership, or lack of, with Barack Hussein Obama, and he's gone further than the Supreme Court and says basically that there is a quote-unquote constitutional right to same-sex marriage. I've got the Constitution. I've studied the Constitution. I talk about the Constitution every day on my program. No, there is not. How does this man get away with bending and forming the Constitution just to suit his own ideology?
Everybody's wanting to paint their own cause as right, good in the stance of our founding fathers, and also, believe it or not, in the stance of God. People will go ahead and claim God to be on their side, as Barack Obama does as well. And the plain fact is that the scriptures are very clear, that Christ's own love for us is very clear, and that love dictates that we maintain God's plan for our own human sexuality. That plan is the only thing that leads to human health, sexual health as well as spiritual health. And so the evidence is there in our own bodies, and that's what the scriptures actually say. They will see in their bodies the result of their actions, and we see that. And the weirdest part is, I myself have gone to AIDS hospices and seen patients dying of AIDS. You see what the result is with your own eyes. It's only so much that people can do to lie and to claim falsely both the backing of our founding fathers and of God himself. But the error and the hell is apparent, and at some level, people know. But we have to stand up as Christians, speak out the truth, but speak it in love, knowing that we are the ones who are actually most concerned for all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of whatever their sexual orientation is.
John, we've got a caller with a question, and then I've got one more point I want to raise before we end this segment. But go ahead, caller, quickly. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things about this is that even in the civilized countries of the world, Western Europe, the West period, you've got reproduction rates dropping to the point where we won't even be able to sustain our own populations. And in Japan right now, they're suffering dearly because of this thinking. Now, I'm not so sure it's because of any religious reasons, but this kind of thinking, these people will literally end their own existence because of their behaviors. And I'll hang up. Thank you.
All right. Would you respond to that, please, John?
Well, absolutely so. And it's very interesting. It was only till 1930, it was only after 1930 that any Christians would ever accept the idea of contraception, of limiting God's plan for creation, of sort of rejecting God's gift of children. And it is very true that the whole of the West is suffering this way from depopulation. It's very true in Japan. If you look at their stats, it's actually quite scary. But I think there has to be a new awakening of the Christian community to God's gift of children, and the consequences for ignoring and even rejecting that gift are going to be shown to be really severe. And one of the great arguments of homosexual activists has been, hey, if we're just having contraceptive sex anyway, who cares? Sex just becomes a thing for enjoyment. So if I can enjoy it with my same-sex partner, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So there are some really touchy things there that I think the whole Christian community needs to re-examine in light of what's going on today.
Yeah, well, final thought here, John, and I'm going to have you back because I want to talk further about these subjects with you. You're very eloquent. I appreciate that. But my final thought would be this. With the talk about abortions and the talk about suicides, in general, have our so-called civilized societies lost the appreciation and the value of life?
Well, that is absolutely the case. They have not only lost the appreciation for life, error and sin tend to want to replicate themselves. So in embracing abortion, in embracing this anti-life mentality, we've not only embraced it and practiced it here in America, we've actually exported it everywhere. the anti-life and anti-family mentality has actually been exported through America and through Europe and through the UN onto African countries, even demanding that in order to receive food aid and economic aid for those countries, they had to do it they would only get it with the acceptance of contraception, same-sex marriage, and abortion. And these things have been horrific. So not only have we imbibed this anti-life and anti-family mentality ourselves, we are exporting it coercively to African countries. I just got back from Rome, where I was reporting on the Synod of Bishops on the family that they were doing, and spoke and had dinner with some African bishops who were telling me about this horrible pressure on their countries coming from America, coming from Europe, and from the UN, all demanding that in order to get this aid, the needed aid for the poverty in their countries to recover from Boko Haram and from other things like that, they would need to be accepting this anti-life and anti-family program.
Quick answer on this, John. Is the family sitting down at the dinner table, going to church on Sunday morning, maybe going to a theater play, is that a thing of the past?
It is not, because we must continue life as a family. We must continue to nurture our children in the faith and in the love of Jesus Christ. We must never, ever give up on that. If anything, we should increase our prayers. We should increase our family time. We should increase our passing on of the faith to the children, because that is the only future for humanity.
Oh, I loved having you on this morning. John Henry Weston, editor-in-chief of LifeSite News. John, you got to promise right now in front of my audience you're going to come back with us sometime in the future.
I'd be happy to.
All right, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you. Very interesting gentleman, and some great concepts about what we need to get back to. And he's right. Oh my goodness, we've got to do the weather. And the weather this hour is brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And of course, they are your locally owned custom meat processor and have been for over 20 years. Oh my goodness, they guarantee everything they sell. You gotta try their marinated tri-tips. Oh my, delicious. You're gonna love it. And all you got to do is call them or stop over. 324-7657. They are selling taste, one bite at a time. We'll be back in just a moment, right after Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. It's Michael Rogers from the Ranch. Sunny today, cloudy tonight. That's in our forecast for today. Cooler temperatures, October weather, and that's about it. There is not a lot going on right now for the Magic Valley, which is pretty good. By the same token, next week I'll tell you exactly why. You probably know, but I'm going to get a better synopsis on what you're going to be going through as far as fall going into winter. Other than that, like I said, sunny today, cloudy tonight, cloudy tomorrow. There you go. Enjoy it. Temperature is daytime high about 68 for today. Still the weather. Still the weather you got.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much again. Brought to you, everybody, by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number to call, 324-7657. They are selling taste, one bite at a time. Gina, we made it through another day. I mean, the logs are like 5.5 miles long, but we got through everything.
By the skin of our teeth, without
my.
killing anybody either.
Hey, I was going to ask you, I wanted to ask you a question. I mentioned this earlier this morning, and you've been in television news, radio news, as I have.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Some people have written me emails and called me, and they disagree, some, but most agree, that absolutely I'm adamant at the polls, everybody should have a picture ID, and if you don't, I say no vote. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree with you, though. You know, we need to have voter identification. It's just that simple. Your driver's license.
Yeah.
Your ID, your state ID card, that is your identification. Then when you go to the polls, they verify, oh, yep, okay, what's your precinct? Oh, yep, okay, you live here? All right, can I see your ID, please? Okay, yep, that's you. Here you go. It's just that simple. I think honestly, we need to have it.
Well,
we need to have it.
What is the hard problem of not having an ID with a photo on it when you need it for everything? There's a gentleman that wrote a letter to the paper the other day, and he lives in Burley. His name is Aaron Amos, and I want to compliment him because he came up with all of the different needs for an ID, and he went right down the litany of all of these things, like you need an ID for alcohol, cigarettes, bank accounts, applying for food stamps, Medicaid, Social Security, welfare, unemployment, renting, buying a house, driving a car, getting on an airplane, buying a gun. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then you hear the liberal left, and this just fries my bacon. Oh, it's such a hardship to say to people they've got to have an ID.
When it specifically comes down to voting, and I might probably get some backlash on this, but I just really don't care. It is easier for them to skew the numbers when you do not have to have
absolutely
voter identification, if you get what I'm saying. It's so much easier to commit voter fraud when you don't have to have voter identification.
And they'll come up with these lame excuses. There was a story in the USA Today on last week about, the elderly, they can't get in and get their IDs. The people that live in rural areas. Gina, how many people do you know that live in a rural area, this is a rural area, that would have any excuse whatsoever that they couldn't do it when they go to town to get groceries?
There is no excuse unless if the office is closed. I'm sorry. There is no excuse. We live in a rural area. Heck, when I grew up in Elk River, we would drive down to Orfino and have our picture taken.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a deal. That's just so to say, the poor people in rural areas.
And how is it discriminatory? I've only got a short time, but how is it discriminatory for anybody and say that it's going to cut back on their going to vote if we just have a standardized law that says thou shalt have a photo ID?
It's only discriminatory against those who want to commit voter fraud.
There you go. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. Hey, don't forget Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh boy, they've got that big tire sale going on right now with the Open Country AT2 and the Wildcat AT2 and of course the passenger car tires, the Eclipse and the Ultra Z900, just to mention a few. And of course they've got the custom chrome wheels to dress up your four-wheel dandy. And I want to stress the fact the best in brake service. Absolutely. They've been providing brake service to their customers for over 30 years, and they are the best. All you have to do is stop in, shocks and struts, front end alignments, the best in batteries, always with all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yep. And that means we've got a whole, I think about 20 different segments. And we've got the Chamber of Commerce report, we've got Dog Nation, we've got Rita Ramsey, we've got Starving to Death, we've got Cassia County School Days, and we're going to have the school nurse Kyle Hodges on. And we've got Jack Euler is going to be on the program. Going to be very interesting, talking about the wolves and how some of the greens and enviros keep trying to change all the rules. Don't miss it. It's going to be a really good program tomorrow. And we'll start tomorrow morning like we do every day at 8:06 right here on Zeb at the Ranch at KBAR 1230 and streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. Thanks, Gina. See you tomorrow morning.